You have the right to understand the chemical hazards in your workplace. This goes beyond simply knowing that hazardous chemicals are present. It means fully understanding the risks they pose and how to protect yourself. The Hazard Communication Standard ensures that you are informed about chemical hazards, prepared to handle hazardous substances safely, and empowered to take action to protect yourself and others. Now let's talk about the change from right to know to right to understand. The Hazard Communication Standard originally focused on your right to know. That meant employers had to inform workers about hazardous chemicals and provide access to important safety documents like safety data sheets, SDSs, and chemical labels. However, knowing that hazards exist isn't enough. You also need to understand what those hazards mean and how to handle them safely. This is why OSHA shifted the focus from the right to know to the right to understand. The right to know means that you are aware that hazardous chemicals exist. The right to understand means knowing what those hazards mean and how to stay safe. This shift ensures that workers can recognize hazards and take the right actions by reading and interpreting safety labels and SDSs, applying safety knowledge to handle chemicals properly, and responding effectively in case of spills, leaks, or emergencies. Your understanding of hazards is just as important as your awareness of them. Now let's talk about employer responsibilities. Under the right to understand, it's not enough for employers to simply provide information about hazardous chemicals. They must ensure that employees comprehend the information and know how to use it to stay safe. Your employer is responsible for making hazard communication clear and accessible so you can take informed actions. This includes the Written Hazard Communication Program. Remember, this document outlines your company's safety policies, procedures, and training requirements for handling hazardous chemicals. A hazardous chemicals inventory. This is a complete list of all hazardous substances used or stored on site. This allows you to assess risks and take appropriate precautions throughout the workday. And finally, safety data sheets. A detailed SDS must be available for every hazardous chemical. Employees must understand how to read and apply information from an SDS, including guidance on handling and storage, PPE selection, and emergency response. Employers provide the tools, but your understanding is what makes workplace safety effective. Hazard communication is more than just finding information. It's about knowing what it means and applying it to your daily tasks. Now let's talk about applying hazard communication in the workplace. Here's what it involves. To work safely around hazardous chemicals, you need to 1. Interpret labels and SDSs. Learn to read and understand hazard symbols, signal words, hazard statements, and precautionary statements. Each of these elements provides critical information about the chemical's dangers. 2. Apply safety information. Use what you learn from labels and SDS to handle chemicals properly, follow safe work practices, and respond correctly in emergencies. 3. Know safety procedures. Familiarize yourself with your company's policies for handling, storing, and disposing of hazardous chemicals. And 4. Use equipment correctly. Understand how to use personal protective equipment, PPE, and any tools or machinery that help protect you from chemical exposure when working with hazardous chemicals. The bottom line? Protect yourself from chemical injuries and hazards. Understanding hazard communication keeps you safe in the workplace. Here's what you can do. Know where to find the Written Hazard Communication Program and SDSs. Learn and follow your company's emergency procedures. Read and comprehend chemical labels and SDS for every chemical you encounter before handling any hazardous substance. Follow all warnings and instructions related to chemical use. Use the correct PPE, such as gloves, goggles, or respirators, when handling hazardous chemicals. And finally, practice safe work habits every day. Why your right to understand matters. The transition from right to know to right to understand puts you in control of your workplace safety. It's not just about knowing that hazards exist. It's about understanding those hazards and taking the right actions to protect yourself and others. If anything is unclear, don't hesitate to ask questions. Your safety and the safety of your coworkers depends on your understanding and actions. By embracing your right to understand, you play a key role in creating a safer, more informed workplace for everyone.